This is Jordan Poyer, safety for the Buffalo Bills, and you are now listening to Cover One Buffalo Podcast. Let's go.
Good evening and welcome to Cover One Buffalo Podcast. You are joining your host, Greg Tompsett, tonight with this special edition of the Bills-Seahawks preview. I'm joined by Lofa Tatupu. Lofa, how are we doing?
Good, my man. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a huge fan. For anybody who isn't familiar, you're talking about three-time Pro Bowl linebacker, spending 6 years with the Seahawks and a ton of time around the NFL, growing up in that culture with your father, and really excited to be able to talk about the game today.
Yeah, man. I mean, both of our teams are looking pretty strong right now. Battle of number ones, right?
Yeah. And honestly, I think fans are going to be in for a fun game this weekend. The weather looks perfect. It got a little nasty last weekend. It looks like we're going to be like 60 and sunny and perfect conditions for everything. Neither defense has quite been up to snuff yet, but both offenses have been flying high. So we'll get into some of the details. But before we dive into it, just anything you want to share with some of the fans, what you have going on or where they could find any of your work?
Recently started a BLEAV Seahawks podcast with the BLEAV Network, BLEAV. And then I got my own startup, ZoneIn CBD. You see the shirt?
Beautiful.
You see a lot of athletes, advocating on behalf of CBD because of all the benefits, mind and body. And man, I started my journey about 4 years ago. And it's after all the surgeries and concussions, it's really put me 10 surgeries, 15 concussions, and I'm here to tell you that I've never felt better at any point in my life. So that's the power of the plant, and I'm going to sing its praises every chance I get. You can find out more about us at ZoneInCBD.com, and we're changing lives.
Awesome. That's beautiful, man. And I'm so happy for you. You hear so many different things. And we'll start with the Bills offense against the Seahawks defense. One of the pieces there, Bills fans are a little bit nervous. Mitch Morse ending up with his sixth concussion and has had some of the challenges there. He's been kind of that pivot of the offensive line. And I think that sometimes some of the challenges the Seahawks have had on defense, obviously so many moving parts and changes in the secondary, that front seven still got some talent in it. And obviously Bobby Wagner and KJ Wright and some of the names that people know, but they're a lot tougher up front than I think maybe people just assume because of the struggles with the pass defense or honestly being in the lead and so much garbage time against them. Some of the stats that have come up there. What are some areas that either concern you or things that Bills fans might need to be wary of in how they're going to try to attack the Seahawks defense?
I think, we have the best linebacker unit in, all of football. I really believe it top to bottom, including the depth. They've had strong performances. KJ Wright, he was on a streak of 3 or 4 turnovers in 3 games. And then Bobby just unleashed, one of the best performances we've seen in a while, 11 tackles, 2 sacks. And they're starting to get that pass rush going because we've had so many injuries up front. We're bringing in Snacks, Harrison, a Pro Bowl player. We just acquired Dunlop through trade. Yep. So help is on the way in terms of shoring up that front seven. But we're going to be bringing pressure, with Bobby and Jamal, who are 2 of the best pass rushers from the second level that I've ever seen.
Yeah, it's funny. I obviously very familiar with Jamal Adams coming from the Jets. And, always at that point when you're getting ready to play a team like that, he was such a singular force when obviously wasn't surrounded with a ton of other talent. Being able to put him in a defense like this where you still have, Bobby Wagner's so good in just what he can do on both sides of it. Some guys are great in coverage. Some are good in run defense. He's good at everything that he does and so instinctual for covering things. Having guys like that who can give him the flexibility that, I don't know that Jamal Adams is the best coverage safety in the NFL, but he is a weapon coming off of not knowing where he's coming from, when he's going to time blitzes, when he's coming up into run fits, even run blitzes when he plays up in the backfield. I'm a little bit nervous about, if he right now it looks like he's back as I'm practicing limited. It looks like it's likely we're going to see him this weekend.
I heard he's full go this afternoon. So
okay.
I think you're going to see. A whole lot of him. He's been on, uninjured, not reserved, but over there. We've been, holding him back, including the bye week. Thought we were going to get him back for at least Arizona. But with the position the Seahawks are in, with the record, they didn't have to rush him back. And I'm glad they didn't, because the other guys are getting these reps that are needed. Ryan Neal and some of the young guys that filled in, they did a phenomenal job. And now you add a piece like Jamal back into the mix, someone you have to account for when he's in the box. He'll chase. He can time blitzes. He can chase down the run, a sweep on the backside. As I know, you guys got some speedy backs over there in Singletary and Moss. So I look forward to watching that matchup of strength versus strength, our run defense and Buffalo's run offense.
Yeah, and it's funny you say that. And I think some people would like to see a little more of the explosive speed in the Bills' backfield, but the short area quickness, the contact balance, the vision that Moss and Singletary have can be really, really helpful. Sometimes it's frustrating that they're not elite athletes to get around the corner, but they're so quick and so good at making guys miss in that short space that, they're constantly creating yards after contact, because it's tough to get a clean hit on either of them, because they're so good at just shifting their body weight, moving just a little bit. And I'm sure you can appreciate the challenge of playing guys like that you think you got squared up, and then all of a sudden you kind of graze off and you can't figure out how they keep going.
Yeah, played a lot of tough backs in my day. And I guess if I had to think of one that kind of fits that mold, the Giants, Bradshaw,
Ahmad Bradshaw, that's great. Great call.
Smaller guy, tough, man. Oh, not the best speed, but fast enough, quick enough, very good lateral, burst burst of speed, acceleration, and, change of pace to the big guy, Jacobs, that they had. But
we'll talk about Jackhammer.
But Bradshaw could do everything. He could catch in the backfield. He could blitz pickup. He could do it all. That's who I kind of liken the combo that you guys got going on right now.
Yeah, well, and last week was the first time we really saw either of them get going in any substantial sense, and they still, I think, had about 14 carries each, and getting that up and running, it was by far the best game we've seen from Zach Moss. But I think that Bills fans are excited. I keep looking back at how we can kind of flip over to why I think that's going to matter playing against the Seahawks offense. I keep looking back to how they handled the Chiefs game. And in the Chiefs game, they knew, if we try to go, they watched what the Ravens did. The Ravens were aggressive. They sent blitzes. They sent man coverage and said, hey, we're going to try to get to you before you can beat us. And Tyreek Hill destroyed them. And they ended up getting blown out. Bills fans were a little frustrated seeing these constant checks into 5- and 6-man boxes, because they were just begging them to run the ball and to check out of it. And they kept Hill and Mahomes to their lesser games of the year. And it was ugly and infuriating, but they had it where Justin Zimmer caused a fumble down by 6 at the Chiefs 28-yard line with 4 minutes to go. And it ended up that Edwards-Hilaire's knee was just barely down. But if they don't, that infuriating, frustrating, hey, why are we letting up 180 yards rushing? They were just kind of trying to keep him at bay and not let him, get up and running. I'm curious, having both DK and Tyler Lockett are just different animals. And I tell myself you can bracket both of them. I don't know if you can, but I keep trying to figure out, is it send 3, spy Russ with 1 and drops? Teams tried to approach this crazy passing attack.
Everybody's tried everything. And honestly, the only time that Russ hasn't been successful, he had 3 bad plays. That's all.
We just talked about the Cardinals. It was 2 ugly picks. The rest of the season's been phenomenal.
It's been unreal, right? And because I've seen teams throw all out pressure at him, and him just take his time, back up, and methodically just throw it to the guy that looks the most open in zero coverage. When they have an extra defender rushing them, then we can block, and it doesn't faze them, And so when it's like, what do? Do you double those guys outside? Because if you do, now you got David Moore.
Yeah, Moore. Nobody knows Moore's name, but you're talking still multiple touchdowns. And we brought this up in our preview show before. Yes, there's 14 touchdowns to Metcalf and Lockett, but he's got 12 touchdowns to other receivers.
And David Moore's got some of the most impressive catches. As great as Lockett and Metcalf have been, the 2 or 3 touchdowns that Moore has, it's just unbelievable. Like one, he tiptoed, stayed in bounds. Another one laid out, caught it. Those are hard catches to make. He's just not getting the opportunities. And of course, people are going to continue to try to figure out, okay, You take away Lockett, Metcalf's going to go. He's going to go off. You take away Metcalf, Lockett's going to go off. You take away both. We got David Moore. I like DJ Dallas as the running back right now.
Looked good last week.
Since our backs are a little banged up. Great job by the rookie. But the tight ends, we have 3 tight ends that have started NFL games and played well. Olsen, potentially a Hall of Famer. And then you got Dissely, who every year for his first 2 or 3 years, he started off on fire. And then he unfortunately had an injury. And don't forget about Jacob Hollister. I'm sure you guys have with him with New England, right?
Oh, yeah.
So,
and it's going to be – that's what we kept going through was, okay, if – and trying to just manage this Seattle offense, number 1 in scoring offense, number 1 in DVOA. People assume that because they're so good passing that the run game isn't any good, but they're 12th in rushing yards and 8th in rushing DVOA. They're still fine. It's just picking your poison. It doesn't seem quite as painful as watching DK run past people down the sideline. So I haven't checked, like you said, today's practice report. I know that it's been iffy for Carlos Hyde. It's not expected for Carson, but both of them were out there. Are either of them getting back into where they could play this week?
I think Hyde and potentially Homer could come in and spell DJ from all the reps. But I'm excited and encouraged by what I saw by DJ. Guy averaged 6 yards a carry, in college. That's no slouch right there. And he does everything well. Just like we talked about, the great running backs, they can do everything well, and he does.
I don't know that I hadn't done a ton of homework on him. I watched a little bit in the draft process. I was impressed with seeing him out of the backfield last week. I don't know that I expected him to be as natural and as comfortable as he was coming out there. He looked really good catching the ball.
He does it all. And that's, why they were really excited about him is because it's very rare for rookies to be adept at everything, including blitz pickup. And he is. He knows his assignment. And that's where you get scared, right, to put a young guy in there, especially when you got a guy like Russ back there. You don't want to miss the protection. And so that got him through camp. I got him a lot of praise. And then they started putting him in on different packages and letting him run some routes. And they're like, oh, wow, we got something here. So both those kids, Homer and Dallas from Miami, they're a good little backfield.
So talking about that blitz pickup and the protection for Russ, I know a lot of fans are familiar with Drain Brown. They know the name there. I can't lie. Most of the rest of the offensive line are not names that everybody's familiar with, but it's been a huge step forward this year everybody remembers the highlights of just Russ running around like crazy over the years and constantly having to kind of save the line from themselves and having to bail them out. So many more of these plays now are him sitting there bouncing on his toes in the backfield and being able to have more time. Where has that line developed and is that something that's still coming together? I know we've seen kind of Ayapati, back and forth and some different pieces from a health standpoint. Where's that line compared to where they expected it to be? Because I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen.
Yeah, I think they're pleasantly surprised, right? Because that's been a lingering issue for the last few years. They said, hey, if we could just shore up that line and get a couple more guys in there. And then there's been injuries. And so Ayapati in and out of the lineup, but Simmons has done a great job. Pochek moving from guard to center to start the season, that's no easy task, and he's done it admirably. And then the young pup, the rook, Damon Lewis, he's played big-time ball at LSU.
I loved him at the Senior Bowl. I was down there watching him. He tore dudes up at the Senior Bowl.
I mean, yeah, he's for a rookie to come in, of course, quarterback's probably the hardest to play in terms of what you have to know. But in terms of the physical commitment it takes and the physicality of the game and the exhaustion – offense and defensive line, that is just grown men. And to jump in there at 22 years old, it's impressive to see what he's done. But they seem to have a great, chemistry amongst the group. And, it's exciting to see Russell have a little more time. And that's why we're seeing Russ cook.
No, I'm not looking forward to it on Sunday, but as just an NFL fan, I think that so many people are just a fan of the way Russ approaches the game and going through there. And I know a lot of the narrative things have come up of, people getting attention of, oh, how has he never even received an MVP vote and all those different things. It looks crazy in hindsight to see it, but I'm really, again, besides Sunday, I'm really happy to see how much positive attention people have come around to see just how special he is. That, I think everybody has an argument for Mahomes. I think he's a special talent. I think Russell Wilson is playing the best football of anybody in the NFL this year. And it's just incredible. Like you said, it was literally 2 plays in that Cardinals game that he let them back in there. Beyond that, he's had a nearly flawless season. Just, maybe tell fans a little bit about what you get to appreciate, snap in and snap out, seeing him all the time versus on the East Coast and in the AFC East, we're much more on the highlight end of things, seeing the big plays. What's it really like getting to see a guy like that operating at such a ridiculously elite level?
Yeah, it's unbelievable. You go back, it's hard to even say he played a bad game in Arizona because he put up 472 yards of offense, 35 points. So it's like, I would put my stat on me as a defender, because it's tough. It was a hard-fought game, but you got to love what you see. And I think what you said it best right there, snap in and snap out. The guy's never misses a snap. I'm knock on wood. I've seen him play through a partially torn pec. I've seen him play through a grade 2 MCL sprain and not miss any practice. He wants all those practice reps. It's a guy that anybody, any organization wants to be their guy. And so the leadership, I guarantee you, whenever if he throws a pick, he goes right to the defense and daps up Bobby and the boys. And he's like, hey, you get the ball back. I'll put it in the end zone, man. My bad. I'll get it back. And it's, that's what you want to hear from your leader, right? So, he's the first to admit it, when he needs to play better, which isn't often, but that's what you like seeing, because when he took that loss, even though it was not on him, but he took that Arizona loss, he came out and said, that's on me. I can't make those plays, those 3 bad plays, and it won't happen again. And I mean, that's what you love about him.
Yeah, and it's incredible. You talk about, Bills fans obviously got rightfully excited about Josh Allen's start to the year and the opening 4 games, and he's been okay in the game since then. I've actually been reassured in that his floor, I think, is a little bit better than where maybe people thought they were. But seeing that even when he was at his peak, I kept telling people, I'm like, hey, I get the MVP excitement. Do you guys see what Russell Wilson is doing? And just to let fans know, people who aren't tracking this, 7 games in, he's on pace for 4,900 yards and 60 passing touchdowns. It's unbelievable. 26 touchdowns in 7 games is bananas.
Last week he played a near flawless game. A couple of the incompletions were throwaways where he, smartly got rid of the ball. But he still had 270 yards passing and 4 touchdowns, no interceptions. And that's not even getting consideration for player of the week anymore for him. That's like, hey, we need 5 or 6 touchdowns.
Yeah, just a ho-hum game. Yeah, that's no big deal. It's unbelievable. Coming over and seeing, in doing any of the work you've seen, or obviously probably more similar to my experience with Russ, seeing more of the highlights for Josh and some of the lowlights, those things come up. What have you seen so far of maybe his step forward this year and starting to put a little more consistency to it, refining some of those mechanics to be able to make some of the better throws, some of the things that Stephon Diggs has helped unlock for the offense? What do you think the Seahawks are going to be looking at as far as picking their poison with this Bills offense?
First and foremost, you have to stop the run. And, it's a tremendous task with what, not just Singletary and Moss, but you add Allen to the mix because he can create, extend plays and then take off. He's not afraid to. 6'5", 240. That's a big, fast dude running the ball. And I think what I've seen him do and make the biggest leap is his decision-making. He's not forcing things like he did, maybe a year ago, leading to, multi-interception games if he doesn't have what he likes, he'll pull it down and run. And that's the whole thing is, just keep moving the chains as the quarterback. Stephon Diggs is adding an element to that game that, he's a player you have to be aware of at all times. And, I think that's a weapon that, Allen's been missing maybe in like years past. So, I encourage you with where he's going. He's got all the talent, height, weight, arm, everything. And, it'll be exciting to see where he goes in the future.
Yeah, and I think that Bills fans are excited about it, and I think that this has at least reassured them that it's worth being excited about, and that, you know, we don't know where it's going to end up and what kind of things he'll end up achieving, but that it's at least worth buying into, that we have something here to be able to continue to develop and go forward. And I think that's, you know, especially in a place like Buffalo, that's exciting to have, where we haven't had that literally since Kelly to be able to be in that spot. We've had Band-Aids with guys late in their career. You had a minute from Flutie, you had a minute from Bledsoe. We had that brief glimpse with Fitzpatrick before seeing him, you know, head back the other direction. So having somebody that, you know, we finally feel like we can buy into early, and that, oh, this might actually work out. It's exciting to finally have that feeling and experience. Yeah,
I bet. And that's the early years, especially with, you know, how cap friendly their contracts are. That's where you want to make those strides and get it going. And like, that's probably why I still can't believe Russ didn't have a single MVP vote. But you know, his first couple of years, you had beast mode, you had the number one defense, you know, every year running. So it's like, I understand he didn't get the credit he deserved. But and now I don't think he's getting enough credit for what he's been doing for the last several years, because as the defense says, as we've lost guys, you know, the Legion of Boom's gone. Cliff Averill, Michael Bennett, Brandon Mebane.
Quentin Jefferson, thank you.
Yeah. Oh, man, I love Q. I love Q. I mean, he was one of the most exciting picks of that draft for me, because when I turned on the film, I was like, my God, this guy's everywhere. And him and then Alex Collins, the running back that we got in the later rounds. And you look at, they both turned out to be just studs, man. And we got Alex Collins back because of our running back situation right now. And he's a tough, hard runner. I mean, you saw what he did in Baltimore.
Oh, yeah.
So, but yeah, Q, oh man, I'm still upset that one got away, man.
No, he's been nice. It's taken a minute to figure out. It's been unfortunate having Star Lotulelei opt out. The Bills didn't have secondary options at one tech, so they've ended up having a bunch of guys like Ed Oliver, Quentin Jefferson, even bigger guys like Vernon Butler, Harrison Phillips. There's still more of that penetrating three tech, all kind of masquerading as a one tech, and he's done his darndest to be able to play the role, but that's just not what he's meant to do.
Who's this new guy, the new Kyle Williams I keep seeing?
Justin Zimmer. Hey, but you keep punching out fumbles against the Patriots, and people build a statue of you out front.
I mean, yeah, he reminds me of Kyle, and, you know, that's high praise, because I know
– Oh, yeah.
Like Kyle Williams, my God, that guy was incredible. And, you know, I believe, you know, should have been to more Pro Bowls and gotten more credit for everything he's done. Utmost respect to that guy.
No, certainly. I'm probably one of the more hidden players, just because of how terrible some of those Bills teams were over that stretch, and seeing a guy that never really had a chance to do that. And now, yeah, obviously that's not remotely fair. They did that to Harrison Phillips when Harrison Phillips had a decent run, and now Justin Zimmer. So we're not going to put that on them. But Zimmer has looked decent, and, you know, obviously starting to earn more reps, getting in there, and, you know, nothing's going to ingratiate yourself to getting more reps than making a critical play in a moment like that, where the defense needed somebody to step up, and, you know, seeing that momentum of, oh my gosh, we're going to let them come back here and be able to make a play, coming up there and knocking that out, you know, can't pick a better opportunity to earn reps.
He's done that a couple times now, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. And I mean, like, did you say he did against the Chiefs or?
So honestly, he could have 2 game-winning fumbles if Edwards-Hilaire's knee isn't down, and they would have got the ball to 28 going in, down 6, and they had been moving the ball on them. You could be talking about 2 game-winning fumbles that he could have created
from a D tackle. I mean, that doesn't ever happen, man. Like, that's that's some Kyle Williams stuff.
Yeah, fans are going to love you hear you saying it. It's really exciting to talk to you here, man. We really appreciate the time. As we kind of start to wrap things up here, we talked about, I expect this to be high scoring. I expect there to be a fair amount of points back and forth. I can't rightfully pick against Russell Wilson and what he's been doing so far this game. I think the Seahawks are rightfully favored in this game. I think that they're still a little bit more consistent with it, but we explained a couple different paths of where we can see the Bills pulling out a victory. It's probably going to take an opportunistic play on defense, somebody creating a fumble, somebody creating a special teams turnover, getting an extra possession, because possessions are going to be critical here. You can't kick field goals. You have to get touchdowns. Being able to do that. What kind of game are you expecting to see on Sunday?
I'm going to look to see the Bills try to establish that run, and really test us, because they are good at running the ball. And I understand, the where we're at with our secondary, but we started to really rush the passer better from multiple, avenues. And then I believe Dunlap's in this week. I'm not sure about Snacks. So you put, Carlos Dunlap in there. Guy's got over 80 sacks from the D tackle position, 6'6", 280. You're always excited to add that to the mix.
Talk about what we talked about with Kyle Williams, a guy that most people don't know the name because he's been just languishing in Cincinnati this entire time. He's better than fans realize. That's a talented player.
I mean, when you get up towards the century mark, around 100 sacks, they start to talk Hall of Fame, and that's the production and pace that this guy's had. So I'm excited to see what he adds, because he's going from a team that had one win to a team that has one loss. And I don't know if there's any more excitement as a football player knowing you have a shot at the title. You're joining a contender, and I feel like it's going to breathe some life into him, and I anxious to see what he does. But I expect a hard-fought game. Both teams are tough. Both teams in first place, and it's like you said, it's pick your poison with the Hawks offense, and we'll see how they try to come out and attack the Hawks defense.
Yeah, I appreciate it. This has been a ton of fun to be able to talk through, and I think fans are in for a really exciting game. One more time, let the people know where they could find your work and what you have going on with ZoneIn CBD.
Yeah, so on the BLEAV Network, BLEAV, BLEAV Sports Podcast, started BLEAV Seahawks Podcast with Brett Davern, and it's been fun, just fun like this, getting to talk football with everybody. It's my first true love. My second true love is my new startup, ZoneIn CBD. I've been on this journey for about 4 years, and it's kind of just mentally, physically, and spiritually, even emotionally, just brought me to a higher purpose and a higher being in life, and feeling my best in all facets of life. So on your well-being journey, join us, ZoneInCBD.com. And I'm blessed to be doing this, and I can't wait to see this game this week.
Awesome. Well, thank you very much. Appreciate it. Guys, everybody checking out here, you've been listening to Greg Tompsett and Lofa Tatupu. This is Cover One Buffalo, and we are out.
One last thing.
Go ahead.
Thurman Thomas is the greatest football player of all time.
We needed to have that in there earlier. People would have been a lot more excited. For anybody who missed it, Lofa and I had a great conversation beforehand about, all the shine that, Marshall Faulk and LaDainian Tomlinson and Christian McCaffrey rightfully get as great players. But the guy who started that all-purpose scrimmage yards game was Thurman Thomas, and that Lofa was a huge fan of that as a child growing up, and started as a Bills fan as he first started to fall in love with football.
Right on, man. I appreciate you.
Appreciate it. Thanks, man. Have a great night. We'll talk soon.
All right, brother. Take care.